Last week, my phone lit up with a call I didn't expect. It was my cousin, the same cousin who had trashed my name, stolen my friends, and even messaged my fiancé begging him to leave me. She was sobbing, saying she had no one else in the world. I wanted to believe she had changed. I wanted to think maybe this was her rock bottom. But within minutes, her voice turned sharp again. She screamed at me, accused me of enjoying her pain, and tried to twist the story just like always. That was the moment I snapped. I told her the one truth she never wanted to hear. So tell me, when family burns every bridge, are you supposed to rebuild it? Or watch it collapse? I never thought I'd be the kind of person to cut ties with family. For years, my cousin and I were inseparable. We weren't just relatives, we were best friends. Every holiday, every birthday, every random Saturday night, we were together. She knew my secrets, my fears, the things I didn't tell anyone else. When my parents moved us 5 hours away, I thought that was the end of it. Distance kills most bonds. But somehow we found our way back to each other. By the time I was 20, she and I were back on the phone every day, gossiping, venting, laughing. It felt like we had rebuilt what distance tried to break. She even became part of my social circle. I introduced her to my fiancé's friends, and for a while she fit in perfectly. Everyone liked her. She was funny, charming, the kind of person who could walk into a room and own it. I was proud of her. It felt like my worlds had finally blended. The family I grew up with and the new family I was building. But looking back, there were small signs I ignored. Little comments she made when the attention wasn't on her. Subtle digs at my choices, especially when I started talking seriously about marriage. She'd laugh it off as a joke, but I'd feel that sting linger longer than it should. And then came my engagement. That was the turning point. Suddenly, she wasn't happy for me, she was furious. She spread rumors in our friend group that I was using my fiancé for money. She painted me as shallow, manipulative, and fake. People I thought were my friends started giving me strange looks, second-guessing me, avoiding my calls. Took me weeks to figure out why. When I confronted her, she didn't deny it. She twisted the story, making herself the victim, claiming I had somehow betrayed her by getting engaged. Then, as if that wasn't enough, her own boyfriend broke up with her. And she blamed me for that too. The final blow? She actually messaged my fiancé and told him he should leave me. For her. That was the day I realized something was deeply wrong. And for the first time I started asking myself a question I'd never dared to before. What if my cousin wasn't my friend at all? Everything was about to change. For most of my 20s, I thought I had struck a rare balance. Family who doubled as friends. My cousin and I weren't just related, we were each other's person. She had been there through sleepovers with pizza boxes on the floor, whispered crushes, and the long car rides where we planned our futures. Even after my family moved away, the daily phone calls stitched us back together. When I introduced her to my fiancé's circle, it felt like the perfect bridge between my past and my future. First, it worked. She charmed everyone effortlessly. She cracked jokes, told stories, and acted like she'd always been part of the group. Watching her blend in gave me this sense of pride, like I was sharing the best parts of my life with someone who had always been there for me. For a while, I believed we had finally reached a stage where nothing could break us apart. But then something small, almost invisible, shifted. It happened after my fiancé proposed. We were sitting in a cafe and I showed her the ring. I expected squeals, hugs, maybe even tears. Instead, she smiled too quickly, her eyes darting down, and muttered, "Must be nice to get that kind of upgrade." I laughed nervously, brushing it off as a joke. But the silence that followed was heavy. It wasn't playful teasing. It was something colder. That was my first red flag. After that day, her tone changed. Little comments slipped through, the kind that carried just enough bite to sting. "I wonder if you'd still be with him if he didn't have money." Or, "Not everyone needs to marry fast to feel secure." Each time she'd wave it away with a laugh, but I noticed the way her eyes lingered on me. Not with love, but with something sharper. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe she was going through something with her boyfriend. Maybe she was just stressed. Family doesn't turn on you overnight, right? But at night, lying awake, I'd replay her words in my head. My chest would tighten as I wondered if I was imagining it all. Was I paranoid? Or was she actually trying to tear me down? The tension grew quietly, like a crack in glass spreading across the surface. She started spending more time with my friends without me. First, I was glad she felt included. But then I noticed the way conversations would cut off when I entered a room. The awkward glances, the sudden excuses. My stomach sank every time, though I told myself it was nothing. I didn't realize it at the time, but that cafe moment wasn't just a red flag. It was the beginning of something much darker, because what she did next made me question if I had ever truly known her at all. Not long after the cafe incident, little cracks in our relationship widened into something harder to ignore. It started with whispers I wasn't supposed to hear. A friend from the group casually mentioned that my cousin had been worried about me. When I pressed, she said my cousin thought I was rushing into marriage for the wrong reasons. The words stung. Not just because they were judgmental, but because they sounded rehearsed, like a story she had told more than once. I brushed it off. Maybe my cousin was just venting. Everyone says things they don't fully mean. But then 2 weeks later, another friend asked me quietly if I was okay with my fiancé handling the bills. "Your cousin said you never really worked much," she added, lowering her voice. That was the moment my stomach dropped. It wasn't a slip, it was a pattern. My cousin was planting seeds, careful, calculated ones, that painted me as lazy, shallow, and materialistic. Still, I clung to denial. Late at night, staring at the ceiling, I told myself she couldn't mean it. We'd survived distance, childhood fights, everything. Surely this was just stress talking. But then the silence in our group chats became deafening. My phone buzzed less. Plans happened without me. And when I did get invited, there was an awkwardness I couldn't quite name. The final push came one Friday night. I walked into a bar where some of the group was hanging out. Laughter echoed, glasses clinked, until I stepped through the door. The laughter cut short. Eyes darted away. And then I saw her. My cousin, leaning in close to one of my closest friends, whispering with that sly half-smile I'd come to recognize. I forced myself to walk over, pretending nothing was wrong. "Hey," I said brightly, though my voice cracked. My friend barely looked at me. My cousin didn't even try to include me. It was like I was the stranger in a circle I had built. That night, when I got home, my chest ached as though I'd been running. I stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror and asked myself out loud, am I crazy, or is she destroying me from the inside out? Logic told me to give her the benefit of the doubt. We were family. We had history. But my gut whispered a different truth. She wasn't just drifting away, she was cutting me out. Deliberately. The evidence was stacking up. Every laugh that stopped when I entered a room, every sideways glance, every story twisted into something ugly. It all pointed in one direction. And just when I thought it couldn't get worse, I discovered the one message that shattered any remaining doubt. It happened on a quiet Sunday afternoon. I was scrolling through my phone, half distracted, when a notification popped up from a friend in the group. At first, I thought it was just another awkward attempt to make small talk. But then I opened the screenshot. My heart slammed against my ribs. It was a message from my cousin sent to my fiancé. The words burned into me. "You deserve better than her. She's just using you. I would never treat you that way. You should leave her and be with me instead." For a moment I couldn't breathe. My hands trembled so violently I almost dropped the phone. I read it once, twice, a third time. Each repetition felt like being punched in the gut. My cousin hadn't just spread lies behind my back. She had gone straight for the one person I trusted most. I remember sitting on the edge of my bed, staring at the carpet as if it could explain any of this. My fiancé had never shown me the message. He hadn't even responded. But the fact that she had written it, that was enough. It wasn't jealousy anymore. It wasn't insecurity. It was betrayal at the deepest level. My mind raced. Memories of her fake smiles, the backhanded compliments, the cold stares. They all clicked into place like pieces of a puzzle I didn't want to solve. And suddenly the picture was clear. She hadn't just been trying to push me down. She wanted to replace me. The rage was hot and immediate, but beneath it was something colder, grief. This was my cousin. The girl I once called my best friend. The one I used to braid hair with at sleepovers. The one who cried with me over heartbreaks. And now she was trying to steal the life I had built. I thought about calling her right then, screaming until my throat tore. But I stopped myself. She would twist it like she always did. She would make me the villain. And part of me, the part still clinging to some shard of loyalty, wanted to believe she could come back from this. But another part of me whispered, This is only the beginning. Because if she had the audacity to go after my fiancé, what else was she capable of? What other lines was she willing to cross? That night I lay in bed wide awake, my phone clutched to my chest. Every creak of the house made my heart jump. The betrayal had sunk so deep it felt physical, like poison in my bloodstream. And I knew the next move she made would change everything. If the message to my fiancé had been an isolated mistake, maybe I could have convinced myself to forgive her. But it wasn't. It was just the surface of something far uglier. Within days, the fallout began to spread. One friend admitted in a hushed late-night call that my cousin had been ranting about me for weeks, telling anyone who would listen that I was calculating, gold-digging, and cold. Another confessed that she had even hinted I was cheating, dropping vague comments just sharp enough to plant doubt. It wasn't just gossip anymore, it was a campaign. The realization hit me hard. My cousin hadn't simply been jealous. She wanted to erase me, to step into my place, take my friends, my credibility, even my future husband. And worst of all, she was good at it. Her charisma, the same spark I once admired, was now the weapon she wielded against me. I started noticing just how far the cracks had spread. Invitations to hangouts stopped completely. Social media posts tagged everyone but me. When I reached out to people individually, their responses were clipped, cautious, like they didn't want to be caught talking to me. I wasn't just losing a cousin, I was losing an entire community. One night, I confronted my fiancé. We sat in the living room, the glow of the lamp casting long shadows, as I asked him point-blank, "Did she ever try to replace me?" His face said it all before his words did. He admitted she had messaged him more than once. Always pushing. Always dangling the idea that she could give him something better. He ignored her, of course, but he hadn't told me because he didn't want to add fuel to the fire. That admission made my stomach twist. Not because I doubted him, but because it meant my cousin's obsession was deeper than I realized. And then came the worst blow. Out of nowhere, she showed up at my door one evening. No warning, no text, just her on my porch with tears streaking her face. "He left me," she sobbed, referring to her boyfriend. "And it's your fault." I stood frozen, hand on the doorknob, while she poured venom between sobs. She accused me of sabotaging her relationship, of stealing everything that should have been hers. It was surreal, like watching a stranger wear my cousin's face. That night, after I finally shut the door on her ranting, I realized there was no going back. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It wasn't a bad phase. It was war. And I knew if I didn't set boundaries now, she would keep clawing deeper into my life until there was nothing left. What I didn't know was that the next time I answered her call, it would push me to the breaking point. After weeks of silence, I got a call that nearly broke me. It was late in the evening, my phone buzzing on the kitchen counter while I was loading the dishwasher. Her name flashed on the screen. For a long moment, I just stared. My gut screamed not to pick up, but some old reflex, that desperate hope for reconciliation, made me swipe accept. Her voice was soft, trembling. "I don't have anyone else," she whispered. "You're the only one who matters." For the first time in months, I heard not the venomous cousin who tried to destroy me, but the broken girl I once shared a childhood with. Against my better judgment, I listened. She cried about her breakup, about how everyone had abandoned her, about feeling worthless. Something in me cracked. Despite everything, I still wanted to believe there was a piece of her worth saving. So I made a choice. I told myself maybe she just needed someone to listen. Maybe this was the turning point. I set down the plates, sat on the floor with my back against the cabinets, and let her talk. For nearly an hour, I stayed quiet while she poured out her grief. By the end of the call, she sounded calmer. Hope flickered in my chest. The next morning, I even told my mom about it. "Maybe she's changing," I said, half convinced. My mom sounded cautious but supportive. "If she's reaching out, maybe it's a start." I wanted so badly to believe it. But the illusion didn't last. The very next day she called again. At first it was the same quiet tone, the same sorrowful words. But when I asked a simple question, "What exactly happened with your breakup?" everything shifted. Her voice rose, sharp and defensive. She refused to give details, instead accusing me of enjoying her pain. I tried to stay calm. "Please don't shout," I said. "If you yell at me, I'll have to hang up." But she only got louder. Her words cut like knives. You're egotistical. You think you're better than everyone. I'm the bigger person because I called you first, after everything you did to me. My pulse pounded in my ears. I wanted to slam the phone down right then. But I stayed frozen, listening as the hope I had clung to dissolved into ash. And then like a switch flipping, I heard my own voice, steady but cold. If I really wanted to hurt you, I'd just tell you the truth. There was a pause on the other end, just long enough for me to hear my own heart hammering. And then I said it, the one thing she never wanted to hear. The silence on the other end of the phone stretched thin, like a wire about to snap. My chest heaved, my palms slick with sweat. I could have taken it back, softened it, pretended I didn't mean it. But I didn't. For once in my life, I refused to let her twist my words or play the victim. So I said it clearly, each syllable deliberate. It's no wonder you're alone. No one likes you. That's why you don't have any friends. The words hung in the air like a hammer strike. For a second she didn't respond. I thought maybe, just maybe, the truth had cut through. But then came the explosion. Her voice rose into a shriek so loud I had to pull the phone from my ear. How dare you? She screamed. You've always been jealous of me. You think you're better than me, but you're pathetic. Everyone knows it. I felt my throat tighten, but not from guilt, from rage. For months, I had watched her dismantle my friendships, poison my reputation, and even try to take my fiancé. And now, after everything, she was still casting herself as the victim, as if I hadn't just endured her storm of cruelty. I snapped back, my voice sharp. You're not the victim here. You're the reason people walk away. You burn every bridge and then cry that you're standing alone. She gasped like I'd struck her, then launched into a tirade. Every insult, every accusation, every venomous word she had saved for me. She said I had stolen her friends, that I had ruined her relationship, that I had embarrassed her in front of the family. It was a barrage of rage, each word meant to break me down. But for the first time I didn't fold. I didn't apologize, didn't beg for peace, didn't doubt myself. I let her rage bounce off me like sparks hitting stone. And then I did what I should have done months ago. I hung up. My hands shook as I set the phone on the counter. My whole body buzzed with adrenaline, equal parts fury and relief. For once I had drawn a line, and she knew it. But the story didn't end there. A few hours later my phone lit up again. Message after message flooded in from her. Screenshots of long paragraphs, voice notes of sobbing, alternating between begging me to forgive her and accusing me of destroying her life. Then came the kicker. A message not just to me but to my mother, my fiancé, and even a few relatives. She spun the story, claiming I had verbally abused her, that I was cruel and unstable. She painted me as a monster, and sent it to the people whose opinions mattered most. That was the moment I realized this wasn't just personal anymore. She was dragging the entire family into the fire. The group chat buzzed like a hive gone mad. My phone lit up with notification after notification. Paragraphs from her, screenshots she had twisted, messages full of half-truths designed to make me look like a monster. By the time I saw the thread, my mom had already called me, her voice tight with confusion. She says you told her nobody likes her, Mom whispered, as if saying it out loud might make it worse. I did, I admitted. My hands were trembling but my voice was steady. Because it's true. She's been trying to destroy me for months. There was silence, then a sigh. I believe you, Mom said finally. But you need to be ready. She's going to make this ugly. And she did. Within hours, she had looped in 2 aunts, a cousin from the other side of the family, even my grandmother. Each one received the same narrative. That I had bullied her, that I was cruel, that she had tried to reconcile, and I had humiliated her instead. The worst part wasn't her lies. It was the possibility that someone might actually believe them. My stomach twisted at the thought of my grandmother reading those messages and thinking I was the kind of person who would kick someone while they were down. So I did something I hadn't planned on. I sent my own screenshots, proof of what she had said to my fiancé, proof of the insults, the manipulations, the screaming. My hands shook as I hit send, but the truth was the only weapon I had left. The responses trickled in slowly, like drops of water before a storm. First an aunt. I had no idea she said these things. I'm so sorry. Then another. This makes sense now, she's been twisting stories for a while. Finally my grandmother wrote. Family doesn't treat each other this way. I love you but I can't defend her anymore. Reading that, I felt something break, not inside me but between my cousin and the rest of us. For years, she had leaned on the excuse of being family as a shield for her behavior. But now that shield was gone. Later that night, she called again. I almost didn't answer, but part of me wanted to hear her voice one last time. She didn't scream this time. She didn't sob. Her tone was eerily calm. "You think you've won," she said. "But you'll regret this. You'll regret cutting me off." I swallowed hard, my throat dry. "No," I told her. "The only thing I regret is not doing it sooner." For a moment there was only static on the line. And then the click of her hanging up. I stared at my phone long after the screen went dark, my reflection faint against the glass. I knew this wasn't just an ending. It was a fracture that could never be repaired. And the silence that followed told me the war was truly over. It's been a few weeks since the last time I heard her voice. No calls, no late-night rants, no desperate apologies. Just silence. And honestly, that silence feels heavier than the screaming ever did. For the first time in years, I feel like I can breathe. My phone doesn't buzz with drama. My friendships, the ones that survived, are calmer, more genuine. My fiancé and I are stronger than ever. Because instead of letting her poison spread between us, we faced it together. I won't lie, part of me still grieves. Not for the person she became, but for the cousin I thought I had. The girl I laughed with at sleepovers, the one who swore we'd be best friends for life. That version of her is gone, or maybe she never existed in the way I believed. What I've learned is this: blood doesn't entitle someone to your loyalty. Family isn't a free pass to abuse, manipulate, or destroy you. Boundaries are love too. Love for yourself. She wanted to break me down so she wouldn't have to face her own reflection. And when I finally told her the truth, it wasn't cruelty. It was clarity. Will she ever change? I don't know. That's not my responsibility anymore. What I do know is that I've chosen peace. Even if it means closing the door on someone who once meant everything to me. So now I'll ask you, if a family member betrayed you, poisoned your friendships, and tried to take what you loved most, would you forgive them? Or would you let them live with the silence they created?